Welcome back, badasses, to Autism for Badass Moms. I am so excited that you're here once again. I'm so excited that we have a beautiful guest here with us, Jessica.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Jessica, listen. First of all, I wish you could pan in on her shoes.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, they are some serious shoes,
Thank you,
like
thank
bling
you.
bling, heel, all that royalty type. So, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about. I always go into like the journey and like what the experience was like because it's different for different moms. So what was it like for you and your son?
Well, for me, it was definitely devastating, especially like when I found out about his diagnosis. I want to say it was around 2.5. For the most part, I knew something was wrong. I just wasn't sure what exactly was wrong. But when we did get the diagnosis, of course, it was devastating. It was heartbreaking. I really felt like somebody just punched me in my gut, and I like lost all sensation of everything. But for the most part, it was just me trying to figure out what was my next step going to be. How am I going to pick up these pieces? What am I going to do moving forward?
Right.
And I said, self, you're going to give yourself 48 hours to go through this emotion, cry, do whatever it is that you have to do, but we can't stay here. Like, we have to move forward.
So Jessica, what were some of the signs that you saw?
So with my son, being a first-time mom, first and foremost, it's already hard being, a mom and knowing what to expect or what it is. But I did notice in my son, I want to say right before he turned 1, I want to say the 6.5 month mark, he was saying mama. He was saying things like one word, very clear. And then right when he turned 1, everything went like, everything stopped. Like I heard nothing. And even if I asked him, he would say absolutely nothing.
Now, at that point, were you thinking it was autism? Did you know?
No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what autism was. I didn't know anything. Like I said, I just felt like something was wrong. I just didn't know what that something was.
So then did you take your son to the pediatrician?
I didn't take him to his regular pediatrician, I guess you would say. For whatever reason, mom hunches, I feel like they are the best. I took him to Children's Specialized, not even knowing what specifically Children's Specialized does. Okay. But I took him there. I did see a doctor, and right away she was like, here are key things that lead us to suspect that he has autism. And about, I didn't even know about the flapping. I just thought that was normal. So it was, for me, my only concern was the verbal aspect, but there were other signs that I wasn't aware of that he had.
And it's hard, that being your first child, you don't really have another child to compare to with the milestones.
Right.
And again, I feel the same. My son was flapping, was so focused on like the carpet and little strings. He like pick at that.
Right.
But I thought he was fine.
Right.
I thought he was fine.
Right. Yeah.
And you got that diagnosis, and I always talk about the ride home. The ride home.
The ride home was silence. I think my husband was just more shocked. He processed things differently. With me, of course, it was an emotional roller coaster. I'm crying, I'm sobbing, I'm just not understanding. I didn't even know, like I said, I didn't know what autism was. So it was just so much information thrown at me that I didn't know how to process. And at the time, I was just like going through the emotion and just trying to figure it all out, but just complete silence. Just trying to figure out where do we go from here.
What do you feel was your first emotion that you experienced?
I want to say it felt like grief.
Yeah.
Like a loss of, granted, he's here physically, but it was just a lost sensation of me, my soul, my spirit. Like, I feel like I lost myself for that moment and having no hope of anything.
And I know you said in the beginning, you talked about like the punch, like it's something in the stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like, I had no air. I couldn't breathe. I literally felt like someone punched me in my stomach, and I just buckled down to my knees. And, I never felt anything like that. So all these emotions I was going through, you kind of hear it from people. You kind of hear people saying these things, or anxiety or stress or depression. And I'm like, sorry, but when it happens to you and you're in this situation, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you don't go to the doctor expecting the doctor to say there's basically something wrong with your child.
Yeah.
And then to tell you something that's not something that you're really know about.
Right.
And then you have to kind of like, now what do I do
Absolutely.
next? And
Yeah.
you kind of, it's almost like you're going in it blind, like trying
Right.
to figure out.
Because you're not prepared. I knew that they were going to say something. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know what that something was. I didn't know how extreme or how severe. Do I know about this? Nothing. I felt like I was completely blindsided.
Yeah. And so what did you do next with those emotions?
Like I said, I gave myself 48 hours and I said, self, we're going to have to figure it out. You have to get more, inclined with what is autism,
Right.
gather the information, figure out where, what's going on. So between the time of his diagnosis until now, I'm still growing and I'm still learning. I feel like it's a learning process. You're never going to get it all in one day. And, it took a long time for me to figure out specifically where my son was in that
Okay.
spectrum,
Okay.
And then from when I did my research and I figured everything out, then I had to figure out, okay, how can I help him? What are the services does he need? What are we looking at?
Right,
Who do I
right.
call? I started getting even into gut health. For me, that's huge.
Okay.
So I do, I also do that as well. So it's a lot of pieces that I had to put together to figure out, like a trial and error, what was going to work best for my son.
Right.
And what did that journey was going to look like for him.
Right. Because again, every child is unique.
Right.
So there's like kind of know like this is the next chapter and this is what
Right.
you're going to go through.
Right.
And it takes a while to actually really
Oh, yeah.
learn your child.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I'm still, learning and growing, and we try things, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, but I have to keep pushing for him.
So talk about your son. That was your son verbal?
He's nonverbal.
He's nonverbal. And what was that like for you?
It was definitely hard. It was not easy at all for me, especially because I've heard him in the past say mama, and that's hard. You
Yeah.
lose it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
So it was definitely hard for me. I didn't know, it wasn't something that it was going to come back. I took him to speech. What are we looking at? What should I do?
Right.
And then, I honestly feel like I got to a point in my life where I didn't want to be solely dependent on doctors and therapists and people giving me false hopes. And, I'm listening to moms saying, oh, my son spoke at 5, give him time. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that because it was killing me inside. And as a mom, I feel like your son best or your child best and you know what works. So what I started doing was, instead of putting these expectations on myself or my son or what society thinks is going to happen,
Right.
I just followed my instinct and I said, you know what, we'll go to speech, we'll practice at home. I think the best thing for me in my household and for my son is just treating him like an average child, giving him the life experiences
Right.
and going from there. So as he was getting older, there wasn't any language, so I decided to sign with him. I taught myself how to sign.
What?
So I had to go to
ahead.
YouTube.
Go
I
ahead,
can't give you
Jess.
sentences, but I'll get by. You know what I mean? So he's a kid. So it was like the basic survival skills that my son needed, right? Because I put myself in his shoes sometimes, and I'm just like, to be that small and that young, to not being able to talk and trying to communicate, I
right.
can't even fathom that, So I said, we have to come up with something. So we started signing, and he'll do it. He's not a fave of it. So then when he started ABA, because he is an ABA now, they said, hey, there's an app called Proloquo. You could download it.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
So we downloaded it. And it seems like that's more of his interest. He's a gadgety boy. So I said, okay, fine. Whatever it is that's gonna help him communicate, and whatever it is that he likes, let's do it. But I
Yeah.
need him to be able to communicate not just with us, but it's a cruel world out there. And I'm trying to
right.
prepare him.
And it's scary. My son has done the sign language. I thought he was doing very well, but then the school wanted to change.
Of course.
And we think this is going to be better for him. Did the Proloquo,
Proloquo.
did the PECs.
Right.
Did,
Yep.
Just tried everything.
Right.
And it was sad because he was saying words at one point.
Right.
Mom was like that's just the,
heartwarming
You
one.
want to hear mom. And now he doesn't really say, words, but it'll come out once in a blue moon. And we'll try to like emphasize, oh, you're saying mom? Is it me? Are you trying to talk to me? But it's hard. And but I love how you said you just kind of work with your child, and that you just you're focused on like, I'm going to like teach him sign language. I'm
Yeah.
going to do it. I'm going to learn it. And that's that.
I think one thing with his diagnosis, it actually took me out of my comfort zone. I'm a very structured person, right? And I don't like when things go left or it wasn't planned, but that's life, right?
Right.
So I think one thing that I've learned as I'm growing and being his mom is that life isn't perfect and it's always going to be, you know, lefts and rights and ups and downs. So I had to adapt to that. And one thing, and I'm glad that you said that and you could see that, is I am driven for him.
Yeah.
I am his biggest advocate. I have to be because no one will be. And he's
Yeah.
6. You know, I have a long way to go.
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah.
his adulthood is going to look like. So I'm prepping him as much as I'm prepping myself for what life is going to look like for my son. And as a mom, I don't think anybody could do that for your child.
Right.
You are the person. And if you could start this young, sky's the limit, you know, and this is all they know. And that's all kind of what you know.
Yeah, and you just kind of go through it.
Right.
And someone told me like that your child is your guide.
Yeah.
Like that your child is your guide. And for me being, you know, my son is 13,
Right.
we've been through so much,
Right.
you know, so many different stages. Now it's the hormone stage. And like, what is this?
You're gonna have to
What are we
educate
doing?
me on that because I'm not there
I'm
yet.
like, I need go to some workshops. Like, what is happening here? But it definitely is a journey.
Yeah, it's a
definitely a journey.
long journey, and it's just a road of always learning and knowing and being in the known because you can't depend your life on people, doctors, research. You just have to figure it out.
So what was one of the challenges that you've experienced with your son?
Just him personally, or just like his journey, like of being autistic. Like
It could be a specific challenge that he faces or just...
to be honest with you, and not because he's mine, but he's such a good little boy. Like he's very chilled. He's very like sweet, affectionate. Like he could be in this room and he won't bother, you know?
Okay.
And I think my hardest challenge to this day with him, to me, I think it is the verbal aspect.
Right.
Because some people could see that as a weakness. And it's not for me or for my son.
Right.
Because my son is bright as they come.
He's sharp.
He's very sharp. And to be 6, like I say, and nonverbal, I give him so much credit. So for me, my son is like my superhero. And that's why I'm trying to find ways that he enjoys or he engages in communicating, because I'm like, okay, if this is what our future looks like, that you will not speak, I'm fine with that. But we are going to make this as easy as we can for you and as versatile as we can for you to grow up in this world, whether it's independently or
Right.
with us. But I want my goal is for my son to be as and I don't like to use that word normal because I feel like whether you're on the spectrum or not, we're all normal.
Right.
Right. So for me, it's just for my son to have all those experiences that every other child does, whether it looks different. And for him to, if he's not going to speak, that's fine. But for him to able to advocate for himself, where I
Yes,
can
yes.
step back and he will advocate, whatever that advocate way will look like for him.
Right.
So I think for me, that's my hardest challenge right now.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. Again, there was a point where I just wanted my son to talk, you know, because everybody was talking. And I'm like, what, you know, the world is a cruel place. And what if, you know, something happens and he lopes and he can't verbalize? But I think with just time, his understanding, because sometimes people don't understand it, they get it. They understand what's happening.
course.
And he'll use whatever strategy. You'll know what
Right.
he's talking about.
Right.
And I love how you said being his own advocate.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I'm thinking about him going to his own little IEP meetings and just like, this
Right.
is what I think I need.
Yeah. It's hard because as much as we want to, I mean, and I can speak for myself, as much as I want to hover over my son and be that mama bear, you know, the reality is as they get older, you know, they're still human beings, you know, they, you know, like for example, like my daughter, I could see her being so independent when she gets older, where she's probably like, Mom, leave me alone, you know, and just because my son doesn't talk doesn't mean that he may not feel that way either.
Right.
So I try to raise my children where you need me, I'm here, but I know you're going to be okay standing alone. Whether you communicate, you don't
Right.
communicate, whatever your circumstance looks like. Because the reality is, as much as I would love to be here for 100 years and be here till my kids, you know, it's their time, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And I don't know when my time is. And it's sad, but I have to I have to prepare both of them. She doesn't look any less than him, and and vice versa. They're both equal to me, and I have to raise them strong, and it might look a little different, but that is my goal for them, for both of them to be their own advocate.
So for our listeners, we were kind of giggling and laughing because we got girls,
Yes.
and it's a whole different ball game when you have the girl.
It is.
And so I think that's amazing, and it sounds like they're going to be very independent and
And
strong.
that's the goal, yeah.
So today's topic is coping, counseling. So have you ever went into therapy?
Yes. So funny that you bring that up because I was actually thinking that on my way here. So when I found out about my son's diagnosis, I've never been to therapy in life, to be honest, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I was just more of like, I'll figure it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not that deep, right? Then when I was really going through the motion with my son about what was happening, and I put a lot of self-blame on myself.
Okay.
So that's when I was like, okay, either you're going to have to work on this and find the help that you need, or you're going to have to shake this off yourself. And I felt like it was something that I couldn't shake off. Like I just kept blaming myself for it.
Can you talk about the blame a
Sure.
little more?
So the self-blame pretty much was, me saying that I carried this child for 9 months, right? I'm the one who is fully and solely responsible for this child. So where did I mess up in my pregnancy? What
Yeah.
did I do wrong? What happened when we were giving birth? We had a planner, all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of all of this. And the reality is, no one knows. As much as I could probably document everything, I don't know. So I did genetic testing. I did everything you could possibly think of, and everything came back like, unconclusive, or they're not sure,
Yeah,
and all this
right.
stuff. So with the self-blame, I felt like I was driving myself crazy. And all I would do is just point the finger at me. And, when my husband would try to say to me, like, listen, it's not your fault. I'm like, yeah. Like, that's
It's
what you would
hard.
say. It's
Yeah,
it's my own personal feeling.
Yeah.
So I did seek therapy. I went for like a full year, and it was rough at the beginning because I didn't want to hear what everybody was going to say. It's not your fault, right?
Yes.
And I thought that's what she was going to keep saying. She said it once, and I said to her, that's not what I'm here for, right? So I from when I started until I go here and there now, it's not as frequent, but from when I started for the purpose that I had, I cannot believe that I actually walked out of that tunnel and saw the light.
Really?
Like, I didn't think I was going to see that light. I thought I was just going to be in that dark space.
Just blaming yourself and
I didn't think there was hope for me, to be honest, and especially this being my first time for therapy. And I guess it's true. Like, you have to find that right person that clicks for you, that right therapist, and do the work. And when I tell you, I came to her to tell her, like, thank you. Like, I literally did not see myself walking out into that light.
And it's when you're in it, you're in it. Nobody can tell you nothing.
Right.
I know it was me. I mean, again, I can relate. The vitamins,
Everything.
I missed a couple of days. Maybe I shouldn't have ate this or anything to blame
Nutrition,
myself.
everything, yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And all that did was put me in a depressed state, really depressed state. And so that you were able to entertain counseling. Now, did someone say like, hey, you should try counseling? Like, how did that come about?
I mean, I feel like nowadays it's such like a thing. If you have like a
therapist.
therapist or a life coach, just somebody, I think it's like you think you're cool. I mean, I've always heard it. A good friend of mine, she's a therapist herself and things like that. So I kind of always been around it. Like I said, I just felt like my life was never that deep, I guess. But that's neither here nor there. Anybody can go. So I think I had to really come to terms like, let me figure this out. I don't know if therapy is the right way, but I have to try something, right?
Okay.
So I did try that. But before I tried that, I was looking for support groups because I thought that's what I needed versus a therapist. So I was looking for that. And it's funny because I just found it on Facebook, like my local town. And it was a group of moms who were going through the same thing with nonverbal kids or speech delays.
Oh, okay.
So I tapped into that, and it was cool because you hear everybody's stories and you share. But I think that's what led me to say, no, this is good, but you need to go deeper.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up in therapy.
And it's interesting because, again, the support groups are great because you're hearing someone else share your
Right.
experiences. They can validate you. You know, they really, really get it.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to therapy, and again, I'm a therapist. When you go to therapy, it's a whole different, someone who's outside of it, and who can look at it from a neutral standpoint and teach you the skills that you can use. Yeah, when I'm feeling like that it's just me, and I look at my child and I just feel guilty, and I don't deserve, he doesn't deserve me to be a mom.
Right.
You know,
how to cope.
the therapist may say like some self-compassion. Like, we are so hard on
Oh
ourselves.
my God, I'm learning that. I'm still learning that. I'm still learning that. It is so hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
Like, we will say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to other people. It's a challenge.
No, it's
And-
hard.
Yeah, and I think about therapy too, and I loved how you said like, finding that right therapist, because I
Right.
think sometimes people go into it and they think that, this
That's
is,
the
if I
first
go to a
thing.
therapist, then it should fix all. But not everybody's a match, right? And let me tell you. So, and I wanted to talk about your daughter as well. So I was scared to have a second child, and it was, but I wanted another child, and I didn't want autism to stop that, but I was afraid. So I said, let me go to therapy, and I went to therapy, and the first day, and I used to take all this like information, what's going on and things like that, and that's how you kind of start, oh, is this a fit? Is this a fit? I said, and I'm pregnant, and she's just like, oh, why would you put yourself through that? What?
Wow.
What? I was like, where did you go to school? Because this is, she said,
That's harsh.
well, yeah. And it blew me away, but then it fed into my, I'm selfish.
Right.
There's something like, I shouldn't have done this. So when you had your daughter, did you have any periods of questioning, or were you just like, yeah, let's have this baby?
The funny thing is, because I'm hearing your story, and I feel like that's totally valid. Like, anybody should feel that way. I have a friend of mine that she's trying to have another baby, and she asked me the same thing. I've always wanted 2 kids, and I think what pushed me more to have my second child and not think about it, not even hesitate, was because I said, I'm not leaving my son alone in this world.
Okay.
I'm not. So I don't know why I never felt what you felt, because that's totally normal.
Yeah.
But I never thought about, oh my God, I'm scared that my other child could be autistic. It just never crossed my mind, to be honest.
Well, our perspectives were different, right?
Yeah.
Your perspective was, I want to have another child, so my son has company. I never looked at that. That didn't even enter my head of like, that y'all could be cool together. Mine just kind of went to like, I don't know, like, am I selfish? I'm doing the wrong thing. Why would I, put another child through this for my own selfish reasons? So I think it's the lens you look at it.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. I just, for whatever reason, it never occurred to me to think like, oh my God, my child could be autistic again. We already went down this road. It just never crossed my mind. I guess, like you said, I had to focus and I had to go. I said, we're going to have another baby, whether it's boy or girl. Of course we wanted the boy and the girl, but that wasn't a deal breaker. And actually my daughter was a surprise. We knew we wanted one, but it wasn't planned. And I just rolled with it. And, she's happy, healthy, and she's here, and it just never crossed my mind.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And so with the process of therapy, what are some of the things that I know you said there's things that you continue to work on, but what are some of the things that you felt that you needed the therapist to help pull out of you? Or
Oh my God, that's a good question. I think she pulled a lot out of me, honestly, like a lot of things that I felt like were in there brewing, but I don't know if I felt like I was ready to bring it to light or to be this person who I am today, and so many things. And one of the things that she pulled out in me is to be, more kind to myself, like what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
I'm very hard on myself. This was before kids, now with kids and things like that. And to always, believe in me, not to always double guess my decision or anything like that, to be confident, to stand strong and things like that. I've had it in me, but I never really applied it.
Okay.
So with my son and with this journey, I said, you know what? This is the time to apply these skills. This is the time for me to step out that comfort zone. This is the time for me to do my
That must have
homework.
been hard.
It was.
Yeah.
But I had only this shot because this is my son. So if I don't do it and I don't stand strong and I don't believe in myself, who's going to do it?
Right.
So She pulled a lot of strings, good strings, and made me realize who I am. I don't want to say my purpose because I feel like I'm learning my purpose and I'm in a good space of where I'm going. And my life has changed drastically. That if somebody would have told me with a crystal ball, like, hey, this is what your life is going to look like, I would have never believed them.
Right. Yeah.
And for me to be where I am now and I'm still going, I'm completely blessed, and I'm fortunate for these, gifts and, being here today with you and having this opportunity. And, and I also became a life coach, and that's something I would have never thought in a million years.
So tell me about being a life coach and how did that come to be?
So when I started, I was doing it more for women, entrepreneur businesses, because I had my own studio a few years ago, like my yoga studio, because I'm a yoga instructor as well. So when I had my son, like I said, I started changing my ways. It wasn't like I'm going to the gym every day to lift weights. It was more like centering, grounding myself, finding that peace. So that helped as well. So I became a yoga instructor. That was, my calling. And, it just gave me that little sense of purpose of when I wasn't mom, it was feeding my soul at that time.
Okay.
Right? So I said, I have to do something. I know I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5. I'm not going into the city. I'm not working for anybody because I have to be there for my son. So I opened up my yoga studio. We had it for about 5 years. Then my daughter came. And I felt like, I told my husband, I said, oh my God, I feel like my life is changing again. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm shifting gears. Like the studio has to be sold.
And what was that? Was it a scary feeling? What was that feeling?
It wasn't so scary. It was just, again, the unknown. And I'm like, here we go again. Like, what is, so I if I could see the future, I would love to. I think anybody would. It was mostly the unknown of where am I going now? I thought this was it. I thought this was us. So where am I shifting gears? I didn't know. I was home for my daughter with a whole year not doing anything. No yoga. We were trying to sell the business, things like that.
Right.
So I think I got frustrated again. And I'm like, oh my God, what is my purpose? Like, why do I keep shifting gears?
Right.
But I don't know what it is. And I'm back in this dark tunnel. Eventually everything starts surfacing. I go to therapy again because I felt like I had a little bit of postpartum with my daughter, which I didn't experience with my son. I experienced others, but she started going with those strings again and pulling things out of me and making me realize. And then here we are walking towards the light again, and it brought me to a whole new journey. And it's basically where I am now.
Let's talk about the journey.
Sure. So I became a certified life coach. I started helping a lot of moms who were basically in the same boat that we were, when we first started. And what made me kind of push more, and I started leaning into more of the minority societies and all these moms, is because it actually intrigued me how they really are not aware of their rights and a lot of things that's going on, and how sometimes the schools fail them. And it breaks my heart. Because I'm like, if I'm doing all this homework and I'm doing all this research and sometimes we still could be wrong or miss something.
Right.
I don't even want to know how they must feel. One, because they might not dominate the language. Two, because they're being told like, oh no, this is good. You know what I mean?
And
and it's not fair because every mom, I don't care what race, where you're from, if you know the language or not, we all have an end goal. And our end goal is to help our children.
Absolutely.
So we are in this together. So regardless of how we look, what language we speak, we all want the same thing. So I started seeing that, and it broke my heart, and it touched me, immensely. And I know what it feels like to be in those shoes. You know what I mean? And no one came to me and said, hey, join this, go here, do this. I had to do all the work.
Same.
And it's hard. And there's some people that don't have the time or they can't do it. I was very fortunate and blessed that I've been a stay-home mom, and it led me the time to do it. So I'm like, if I could do, I guess, the grunt work for everybody, why not? Why not help you in the areas that you need it?
So look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So and it birthed. And so what are some of the things, like how do they connect with you? What?
Social media, that's, I think, the new thing now. Everybody's like, social media, TikTok, Instagram, and word to mouth. So I have a lot of friends that are in school districts, so I tell them all the time because not that autism is just becoming a thing. It's always been.
Yeah.
But I think people are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
And the diagnosis is getting more, right? And there's more services. So between friends, word to mouth, my son's speech therapist, she's amazing. So she'll, it's just literally the old school way, word to mouth. I think that's been working for me.
So do they sit down with you? What do you talk about?
So we have Zoom calls, or for
Okay.
those who want to go in person, I do have an office, and I call it an informal way of therapy, right? Because therapy could be intimidating for people. Just to even
Right.
walk in the door, they're like, I don't want a therapist. I don't want to go there. So for me, it's like, I'm just a mom, a regular mom, just like you. So I'm here. I'm listening, all ears. The floor is yours.
Nice.
And when they talk to me and they tell me these things, for the most part, I'm very versatile in what's going on, and I can help. So it's like a safe space for them, but at the same time, you're going to leave with more knowledge than you possibly thought you were going to have it. And it's not going to be information where I've sat on panels and I've been places for these support groups and things where I'm like, I even leave overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't think that helps people. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't pack all this information in a day.
Because autism is complex and there's so many systems.
Exactly. And every child is different.
Right.
So I feel like most of these places, yes, you're trying to do a service, but at the end of the day, you're leaving a parent more flustered, I think. I was flustered when I left the doctor's office. And for me, she was just telling me what she knew. So I try to make it in a way like a community, like a safe space where it's like you and I are just talking like we knew each other, like we're girlfriends,
That's
and I'm
beautiful.
going to help you because I want you to retain that information. And when I feel like you're in a less pressure or scary place, you want to know more. You're asking me for more, and you retain that.
And being an autism mom, understanding the journey and the
Right.
pain and the amount of things that we have to tackle on a daily
Right.
basis, you are able to connect with them on a much different level. And also, too, you can judge, ooh, I don't want to push too much and
Right.
say, yeah, you need to go fight this one or you
Right.
need to go do this.
Right.
I'm going to go at your speed.
At your
at
pace, right? So I like how you put that. Yes, I do go at their speed. I don't ask them anything that they don't want to talk about because that comes with time, right? And if you're doing a good job, that person will come back to you. That
That's
client
right,
will come
yeah.
back to you. So you will get to know that person eventually. So with me is I give you the floor, I give you the panel, we speak, and you tell me what you want to tell me and I'll help you. Now if there's, for example, I had one mom that is looking for an advocate for her son in the school district, right? I'm not there yet, but I'm not going to leave you high and dry neither. So guess what? I'm going to give you the tools that I would use for my son or what I'm doing for my son because my son will start public school in September. So I'm
Yeah.
already getting everything rolling.
Yeah.
So I'm telling her what I know, what I have, and I have an advocate myself. And I said to her, you can use my advocate if you like. So it's like I have different resources. If I personally cannot fulfill or give you something, guess what? It's okay. We will move on. I have somebody for you. They'll help you.
And just building those connections.
Yes,
Right.
it's huge.
Because again, some of us, we are on different journeys or at different paths. We were just talking about like the whole, teenage years and
Right.
stuff like that. And so, being able to connect them with somebody that whatever their need is, I think
Right.
is just so important
It
instead
is.
of just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Right.
It's just,
And I think, when these women and moms come to me, I feel that they feel that sense of relief. They're not sitting in that chair feeling judged or jittery or nervous. They're like, help me.
it's like, they like, kind
Yeah.
of just can,
And it feels good in one sense because I'm like, thank you for choosing me. But it breaks my heart because I've been in your seat. I know what that feels like, but I am going to help you, because
Yeah.
I've been there and I felt lost, but I'm here to help you and try to maybe cut all those steps where I'm like, okay, do this, go here, call this person. This is
Yeah.
what you're going to do.
I think of it like when you get the initial diagnosis and then everything like just kind of spins everywhere. I think that's such a vital time for that mom
Right.
and the whole family
Right.
to have someone like you kind of step in at that time and say like, listen, my child, 6, and I get it. I was there. But let me tell you, if you hold on just a little longer,
Yeah.
you're going to come to a place where you'll be able to manage
Right.
what's going on.
I think it's funny because I told my husband that things get scary, right? And like you said, everybody's in a different direction. And I feel like when people hear doctors, therapists, and more of this, more of that, you're either burnt out, checked out, or
Yep.
you're like, I just can't go. I can't do it anymore. And I get it because that's what your life pretty much is. Services and this and doctor's appointments and follow-ups. And to find somebody who doesn't have that, holds that high title and can sympathize and be a regular person with you and say, I
Right,
get it, that holds
right.
volume.
Right.
And I feel like that resonates with people more. And they're like, it's like, for example, like, I don't know, if celebrities come out and they're like, oh, my son has autism. Yes, we sympathize with them. And I would love to talk to them. But you have money.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
y'all figure it out. I don't have money. Like
I can't take a
yeah,
break.
I can't do what you do. But now you and I are talking, and we can resonate with one another. And what you do, I might be able to do it, and vice versa.
Right.
So it feels more authentic. It feels real. Like you and I could develop a relationship, a bond, a friendship, as opposed to someone who has a higher power. You're just like, well, I can't do that, or it's intimidating.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need someone to validate your experience.
Of course.
Because a lot of times we hold all that. Like with the guilt and the shame and it was all me. I didn't tell nobody. Like I wasn't telling people that, yeah, I feel like because I didn't take this pill or because I just woke up every day, felt that feeling, that dread of, and then I would go to sleep and then it would just continue. And I would just think about all these ways of how I did my son wrong.
Right.
So having someone like you step in and just be that ear, be able to, for them to ventilate, like, like this sucks and say things that, they probably be scared to say.
Right.
Right. Like, oh, if I
Right.
say this, then are they going to think I don't love my child? Or,
Right. Yeah, it's a hard place. It's a confusing place. It's a lot of emotions, a lot of self-regulation. And sometimes, it's trying to kind of manage your feelings and put yourself in check, but not saying you can't, process your feelings and go through them. But it's like pick up those pieces
Yeah.
because your child needs you. And we can't be in this down place all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Have a time frame.
Right.
Right. But then now it's back to business. It's back to business.
Yeah.
Now, how long would they work with you?
So I do anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
So some people, 30 minutes is enough for them just because I feel the 30 minutes I feel like are the very, very new ones that, they start showing emotion. They don't want to be vulnerable and I get it. So I
Yeah.
feel like an hour could be a lot. My hour clients are more the ones who are on the regular. They're like, I'm in it. I need the help. I want the support and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of this, I want to say it's kind of like therapy, but it's really not. It's just not that stigmatism, not that label,
Yeah,
because I'm a life coach.
Life coach. I love it. I love it. And so I feel that you do for everyone, right? You help those families out there. You're a great mom to your daughter and
Thank
your
you.
son and all the relationships that you have. And so where are you and your time and how do you
Good
incorporate
question.
that?
So my friend made me laugh the other day because she's like, everybody copes with being overwhelmed different, right? And she's like, you know what I noticed about you? And I said, what? And I guess I'll say it because that's how I cope. She goes, you make yourself more busy. So I guess that's how I cope or I give myself that time. Yes, my day-to-day is very busy and it's very different every day, from, regular mom stuff, dropping off the kids, picking up the
Right.
kids, cooking and cleaning and the in-betweens and, just scheduling your life. But for me at this present time, my me time, I think, or what fills my cup is the fact that I'm doing my life coaching. I'm here with you today with this wonderful opportunity. And also, running my son's, merchandise line, which we have Autism Superhero, his shirts,
Oh, well, hold on. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, that started with my son because to me, like I said to you before, him being nonverbal, that's like a superhero power for me.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Absolutely.
he's my superhero and I'm his super mom. So we started that because I feel like, back to saying the world is cruel, believe it or not, kids are cruel.
Yeah.
They're mean.
They are.
And it breaks my heart. I'm
They
like, why are
are.
you guys so mean? So I wanted something. We started off with superhero characters, you know, all different races and things like that, because I wanted, if a child was wearing it, I didn't want them to feel singled out or weird, or if another kid was like, oh, what is that?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because it's not fair, and we need to embrace it. I always say, autism moms are always we're focused on raising our children for the world, but
Right.
why isn't the world being well versed or prepared for us?
You are so right on that.
It's always us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that's not fair. So I said, if I can do something where it's not like, oh, what is that? You know what I mean? And it could be in a kiddie form so kids could start learning, why not? So we started building these characters. We started doing all different ones, boys, girls, things like that. One thing led to another, and people started wearing it, and it became a thing. So even children who are not autistic, you have family of, friend of, mom of, dad of, and it just started snowballing.
Okay, so let me tell our listeners out there. I went on the website, the Autism Superhero,
Yes.
and I love that. And like you said, it has friends, you know, and then it has families and moms and dads, and it was like a catalog. It just kept going and going. And the children, the colors, the vibrancy, the cultural diversity.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
know, there's a little black girl in there like, okay.
Hey, we're catering
She
to
has some
everybody.
flavor to her. Oh my gosh. But it is absolutely, what you're doing is absolutely incredible on so many different levels. Because it's not just I'm a designer and I'm selling t-shirts.
No.
But
It's a message.
yeah, it's a
Because
message.
I can't control the world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I am scared for my, you know what? I'm not going to even say I'm scared for my son. I'm scared for both of my kids. And if I had more than all of them. But because I have to prep my children and it's up to me and that's the only thing I can control, I will try small and baby steps that if, who knows, if my shirt becomes a thing or people are seeing it or whatever, and that can help, then so be it.
It's beautiful. So tell our listeners how they can find your...
Sure.
your
So we are on Instagram. So it's the Autism Superhero, and then the autismsuperhero.com for the merch. But we have a link there as well if they want to go on Instagram and, you know, view our stuff. We just launched yesterday the Autism Mom oversized sweater.
About time.
Yes. So it's cute. It says Autism Mom on the collar, on the sleeve. You can have.
Is it the
your-
gray one? Is this
Yes.
the one I saw? Okay.
Yes. You can have the child's name if you choose to, and if not, you don't have to. But it also comes with the puzzle piece emblem as
Beautiful.
well.
Beautiful. I did
So,
see that. I was like, wait a minute.
Yes, I love it because I'm in leggings all day, so why not?
Yeah. So the Autism Superhero on IG.
Yes.
And then give your website once more.
The autismsuperhero.com.
And again, I'm telling you, like those kids on there were slang. Like they
Yes,
were
they
just.
were cute. They
I'm
were a
telling you,
vibe.
because I've seen I've seen shirts.
Yeah.
And they have the child, but it's so the colors.
I wanted, because you know what? If from afar, if a child has
You
it,
would
they're
see
going to
that.
see it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we wanted that vibrant, we wanted that attraction because kids are wearing it.
Yeah.
You know, you have kids wearing Paw Patrol and all this stuff going on. So I'm like, hey, why not wear a superhero? And we try to gravitate, you know, towards the child because that's what they're into.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
great. So let me ask you a question. So our listeners out there who I'm sure they got so much out of this episode, what would you tell a new mom or a veteran mom on this journey who is, again, struggling with denial or just lots of guilt and shame and feeling like they were the ones that did this to their child, and they are overwhelmed and they don't know where to go, and they're kind of thinking about counseling, but they're not sure if it would work for them? What would you say to them?
I would say first try to do your own self-work because I know it's hard to go ask for help, whether it's good help or however you want to phrase it, because everybody has their own perspective on getting help in therapy. But do your self-work, and if you feel like that's not enough like I did, and you feel at some point that you do need more, it's okay. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And find out what it is. Just because you go to a therapist doesn't mean you're stuck with that therapist. Either if you find therapy helps you, great. Just find that person that sticks with you. If therapy is not in the cards for you, find something else. There is a wide range of help everywhere.
Yes.
Help
yes.
looks different for everybody. So because you don't go to a therapist doesn't mean, I don't know, maybe somebody can cope with doing yoga, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Somebody's higher power.
That's okay, right? Because society has us molded on what help looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But we are so different and our needs are so different that you just have to find what works for you. And if you don't want to tell anybody, you don't really have to, because this is your journey. And until you feel comfortable in your space to talk about it, then you talk about it. And you don't need to tell anybody every step of the way. And that's one thing that I've learned because I was so afraid of what people think. And it's like, you're not living in my shoes. You're not helping me. So I finally stood on my own 2 feet and I said, I'm going to do what I want. And when I'm ready to say or when I'm ready to do, and because again, this is your journey and you are your biggest fan for your child.
Ooh, I love how you... Gems.
So that should be your boost of motivation to do whatever it is that it looks like for you to get the help.
So, do for you what's best for you. You don't have to tell everybody every step of the way, because again, sometimes people get judgy and it can influence what you think is the best thing to do. And that getting help for yourself can look like so many, it could be different things, right? Because just because you did counseling, that may not work for me, right? Like you said, it could be yoga and meditation and using those grounding skills. It could be, my higher power is enough, or maybe I just got a strong family support system that nurtures me and feeds my soul, right? So finding what's best for you, but also like not giving up.
No, not giving up hope at all, because I promise you, once you find your purpose and what it is that you need to fill your cup, or how to overcome the self-blame and whatever it is that you're feeling, like I said, my life has been thrown in so many different directions that if somebody told me, hey, this is what you're going to be doing, I would have laughed, And just believing that every step that you're taking is to find your ultimate purpose and to go into that light where you're shining.
The ultimate purpose.
Yeah, because like I said, I just thought I was going to walk in this dark tunnel. And I was like, I'm never going to find this light. But I had to push. And every time I see my son's face, it breaks me. And I'm like, nope, we're going back in that tunnel. I'm going to find it. So whether it's your child, whether it's you, find whatever it is that's going to push and drive you, and just keep going. Just keep going. Don't give up.
Just keep going and don't give up.
No.
And I wish you were my life coach.
Oh.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, we'll switch. You could give me teenage year advice, and I'll give you life coach.
I'm trying to survive this. I'm trying to survive. But I mean, again, your presence and just how you are and just where you're at this point, it's just amazing. And your journey and just the, because we're the backbone to our kids, right? And if we're not well, and if we're not, kind of pushing.
And they feed off of that.
They do.
I don't care if they talk, they don't talk, they're aware, not aware. Listen, kids are smart. When they say smart, please take that with a grain of salt. They're smart.
Absolutely.
They feel every ounce. And to be honest with you, I think they might even feel it before we even are completely in tune with our feelings.
That's a good point.
So, I'm not saying walk on eggshells and you can't have a bad day, but project what you want to feel. Because if you project that,
I agree. Yeah.
You're going to get that. Manifest it. Because if you're projecting happiness in front of your children, what are your kids going to give you back? Happiness. And that might fill you up.
Oh, I love that.
Yay.
Yeah, let's manifest.
Yeah.
We're going to manifest.
Yeah.
Manifest you as my life coach.
I'm here.
So again, Jess, thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm so happy. I'm excited for the opportunity. So thank you so much. This was great.
And this is like, people don't know, this is like a very special episode because like you're in the studio and we got all these fancy cameras and everything.
I know. I was like nervous. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm nervous with you.
I don't know what's going on.
Which camera to look in. But I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to sit down and talk.
I appreciate it.
And so again, listeners, I know you got so much out of today's episode. If you got anything, strength, power, hope, and not to give up.
Yes.
We're here. We're here on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, you name it. We're not yet YouTube, but we'll be there. And every Tuesday, tune in. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, please just send this love to them. Even providers, I would say professionals, providers
absolutely.
can use a little understanding.
And this is an outlet, actually. So congrats to you for building this for us, because this is an outlet in itself.
And just like how you went in your journey and everything, trying to figure out, like I was like doing the journal thing, and I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
Life had a whole different.
No, I think life did you great.
I appreciate that.
This is great.
And I love the moms that are coming on here, sharing their story, being vulnerable, because I just know that it's just gifting so many people. Because I always say this is a global movement, people. global. We got some United Kingdom ladies coming on the show, so I'm so excited.
I gotta hear that.
So again, I want everybody to stay fierce, stay determined, and stay courageous. Jess, we gonna do this.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.